some intangibles that those projections failed to take into consideration.
The crowd was going crazy. There's not much in life that's better than that.
You're listening to Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys with Mark Willard and Joe Shasky on the 95.7 The Game Podcast Network.
Okay, what's going on? Next episode of Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys. And just when we were thinking about transitioning into having conversations about December, a tidy little 5-game win streak highlighted by 2 walk-off home runs with Joe Shasky, Mark Willard. It's the Giants podcast for the Giants fan, by the Giants fan. And so now here we are suddenly, Joe, all asking ourselves, to what level do we believe? Look, it's still very, very unlikely, but they are in this thing. There's no two ways about it. This thing is not over yet. But I wonder, this is a question that's been popping in my head for a while. I wonder what you think. So there's no question any Giants fan, if they're actually a Giants fan, is going to be rooting for them to make the postseason all the time. But we've also said everything that we've said up to this point this year about differences we'd like to see going forward. Sure. So what if they do have a really good rest of August and September, and wherever that ends up, who knows, maybe there's some October baseball too. How does that change the discussion with regard to changes you want to see? And does it give the Giants brass the opportunity to say, no, that's 2 good years in a row, we're just fine?
Well, I think you still need to upgrade at certain positions. Like right now, even though they're in the middle of a 5-game winning streak, a beautiful walk-off by Crawford last night, they need almost everything. I mean, like, they could use more starting pitching, right? We don't know what's going to happen with Rodon. Clearly need bullpen. Every position out on the field is up for grabs. Maybe catcher is accounted for if Bart can keep this up. But like, to me, I think that would be fool's gold. Just because you're winning doesn't mean you can't upgrade. And I look at just all the best teams around sports, whether it's the Golden State Warriors, whether it's the New England Patriots, when they were at their heights, they were always evolving and trying to upgrade. So I hope that's not the case, Mark, because I think we both would agree, just because you have a good record, just because you get in the playoffs, even if you knock a team or 2 off, this is very far from a perfect roster, and there's upgrades that can be made.
Well, I'll even sit here and take it in the moment and say, look, I have my concerns over how sustainable, and obviously no 5-game win streak is sustainable. It's not like they're just going to win out, but this good play, if you will, how sustainable is it? Because again, 2 of these 5 wins took heroics in the bottom of the 9th inning, number 1. And number 2, there's also been very, very little during the 5 wins asked of, excuse me, there's been very, very little asked of the bullpen during this time. And so we're still not seeing what I think is going to be the most important thing down the stretch, which is better pitching out of the bullpen. You've gotten such good pitching from the starters during this 5-game period. And then when you do ask something out of the bullpen, Doval's been fine. Brebbia good last night. But outside of that, there was 1 game where they asked for a lot out of the bullpen. And they coughed it up twice, and Estrada saved them. So my eyes are still there. I still want to see 3 or 4 relievers start to pitch well before I believe this is really going to go somewhere great.
Yeah, and before the game tonight, they made a bunch of little micro transactions in terms of optioning guys to and from Sacramento. And so Luis Gonzalez gets dropped down, a couple of arms that I'm not familiar with. I'm not sure if you've heard of any of these names. Like, these are people none of us are familiar with. Let's see it. Come on down. Like, the price is right. Let's see if they can take a spin and get out there, and maybe there's a salvageable arm. This guy, Alex Young. Okay, I didn't know who he was 2 weeks ago. He's put together now 2 good performances. Now, is he Jeremy Affeldt in his prime? No. But like right now, he's trending in the right direction. And in a bullpen looking for somebody to take the rock, why not?
I'll take anybody who throws with their left arm right now.
Yes.
My 8-year-old son's a true lefty. I've been thinking a lot about it lately. I mean, my gosh, like, anybody who can get outs from the left-hand side is very valuable. So Zach Littell is back. Maybe that will provide another 6th, 7th inning type guy who can provide some stability. But look, it's also just going to take, and I know this is never all that satisfying of an answer, it's going to take people who have performed in the past to perform. Dominic Leone is going to have to stabilize himself. Harlan Garcia looks like maybe he has. Maybe he's stabilized himself. Brebbia has been good most of the year. He had a good outing, but it was a little wobbly before that. Like, you're going to have your 4 or 5 guys pitch. And then the other question is, can Tyler Rogers, how many more times do you even want him to try to be one of those 4 or 5 guys?
It's a great question. The one good thing is we haven't seen him in like 4 days. You know what I mean? So maybe his arms had an opportunity to crank it up a couple of miles per hour because, boy, he could use it. Secondarily, I think it is fool's gold to think that Jacob Junis, who has not gotten past the 5th inning all year, went 7 strong basically yesterday, to think that he's going to do that every time or even every other time through his rotation the rest of the way. You're asking a lot from Rodon, who's getting the ball today, Webb, and then Alex Wood, Alex Cobb. Like, I don't know. I think it puts a lot of strain on those guys. And I do think you have to be a little careful with Logan Webb. I mean, he's a 25-year-old. You want to worry about this year, but you don't want to wear down the rubber pad on this bad boy for next year and beyond.
Well, and just keep in mind what's coming now. I know you got the excitement of the moment, and there's confidence all over the place for the next 2 games because the Giants will finish up this homestand, and you've got Rodon and Webb throwing in those 2 games. That's great. Even if the Giants win them, let's say they're 2 or 3 back in the loss column of the wild card race, if they're able to win those games. Now you're going to Colorado. And what do we know about that? You know what I mean? Like, you're going to need your bullpen to pitch. This is a trip to Colorado, and it's huge. It's huge because it's the start of a roadie that'll take them also to Detroit and Minnesota, and you got to play well because as soon as you get back, you got back-to-back homestands that are literally against the best teams in baseball. It's San Diego, it's Philly, it's the Dodgers, it's Atlanta. That's the next 4 teams that come to Oracle Park. So, look, I believe, I always believe. I'm always here for the journey. I think it's great that they have at least emotionally continued to show life after the way they started things after the All-Star break. But there's still a piece of me that goes, look, I know that this isn't going to end up anywhere good if those guys that we just mentioned don't start performing.
Yeah, no, it's totally fair. And yeah, I don't know what's going to happen here down the stretch. I'm just kind of going day to day. And I know everyone wants to look at the schedule and all the bad teams and all the good teams and who they play. I can't get too bottled down. I need to see my starters go 6 strong, and we'll just take it from there. And I'm thinking right now, and I'm like, I trust Brebbia, obviously, right now. Process of elimination. I trust Alex Young. Leone, I kind of cringe a little, but I trust him more than a Tyler Rogers. But can they continue the situational hitting as well? Like, Mark, as much as this is about the arms and the bullpen, they've played much better defense as of late, much better defense. And then the situational hitting has been there. Now, look, the guy's getting first and second, no outs, and they can't move a runner over. I'm going to continue to pull my hair out on this one. Mike Yastrzemski on line 1. But some of this magic, I mean, sometimes you can't explain it in baseball.
No, you can't. And by the way, so now the other side of the coin that we're talking about right now, let's go ahead and give a moment to this magic. Like, of all the wins this year, I'm still you're never gonna take away Yaz's walk-off grand slam for me.
It was awesome.
That's right. That's the game.
It was awesome.
Right. Remember the game early in the year, Jock Peterson, 2 home runs.
Yes.
The back and forth game. Who were they playing against? Was that
not the Indians?
It was somebody. I can't remember who it was, but it was a back and forth thing. And what did they win? 13-12, something ridiculous.
The Mets.
That one pops to mind. But outside of that, from an Oracle Park fan base that has cried the word boring, too often for anybody's taste this year, man, they've been treated this week. I mean, 2 out of 3 games, you go into the bottom of the 9th down 1, and then uncork the long ones. And I mean, Brandon Crawford, you're talking 1-0 ball game, nobody on base, 2 outs, 2 strikes, and you win that ball game. That's absolutely the kind of game that can lead to a few more wins.
They were literally an umpire strike 3 away, which he had called strike 3 all night a foot and a half off the plate, and he doesn't get it. Estrada doesn't get the strike called. The Arizona manager gets thrown out. I'm in the second row listening to and hearing the whole thing, and I'm thinking, boy, they caught a break on that one. That's been a strike all night. And Estrada hits one off the wall. I couldn't even tell if the right fielder, did it hit his glove, Mark? I'm not even sure.
It was close. He did, everything sort of disappears up against that brick wall.
Yes.
But yeah, he put the kind of blind leap up, and it bounced off something up there, but it definitely was not a ball that he should have caught. No. It was a clean triple.
And if you were in the ballpark, it was hot all night. I was in a T-shirt. I mean, how many times can you wear a T-shirt to a Giants game? And then by about the 8th inning, the temperature dropped and the wind started kicking up. And Yaz hits that ball earlier in the inning to dead center, and Alek Thomas goes back on it maybe an hour earlier. That's out. But instead he jumps up and catches it. So I had no idea Crawford's ball was going to get out. I couldn't believe it just kept going and going.
Neither did the announcers, by the way. Like, I had a fun time this morning sort of comparing the two walk-off calls. Flem and Kipe, the second Estrada hit his ball, they're like, that puppy is not coming back. But this time it's I think it was Miller and Kipe who had the two calls of this one. And you could tell neither one of them at first blast, neither one of them was like, he hit it well. It's going to center. But you think, look, there's 2 outs. This is going to end up on the warning track, and the Giants are going home. And like you said, it just kept going. And it leads to, maybe the feel-good moment of the year. Jalen Crawford gets the video of her kids jumping around. By the way, I don't know if you heard when she called into to the station earlier today to share the story of how that came together. This is really fun. And Giants fans, if you missed this, you'll love it. So here's the thing. If you've seen the video of Crawford's kids jumping around, that was not live. So here's what happened. You got little kids, some of whom had gone to bed, but 3 of them woke up because they heard Jalen, the wife.
Oh my gosh.
They heard her screaming, but they didn't think it was because Brandon had hit a home run. Jalen also, just before the home run, they're in Arizona, she had found a tarantula in the house.
Oh, no.
So she screams about that, and the kids come out, and they think it's because there's a tarantula in the house. So she then go through all the tarantula stuff. Apparently, they're keeping this tarantula as a pet and calling it Walk-Off. They named it Walk-Off.
Oh, wow, that's a great name.
Right? And then she brought the kids over to the TV, rewound it to before the home run. She knew what was about to happen. The kids did not. They thought they were watching it live.
Oh, that's great.
And then that's why she was able to calmly just take a video of them. It was a phenomenal story.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was absolutely amazing on many layers. And I mean, Crawford's family, doesn't everybody get kind of, all warm and fuzzy when they see him? I mean, he's a local boy wearing the Giants colors down at Candlestick as a 5-year-old. There's everything you got to love about Brandon Crawford. And it's his 3rd walk-off this year. He only has 4 for his career. I can't believe it. In a year that most would say, it's been kind of a down year for Crawford, especially how awesome he was last year. He's really hitting his stride right now.
No doubt. And if you do think of all the moments that he gave Giants fans last year, it's easy. And then if I asked you this year, what visual do you have? What memorable moment do you have? I know you said 3rd walk-off this year, but first one that's going over the fence like that. And you're just like, man, like he needed that. He needed some positive memories from this year. And I heard him after the game saying, like, he's been feeling good. This is the best he's felt all year after coming off the IL. So maybe he, along with the team, can recapture a little bit of last year. And I don't know, man, maybe they got a little something for us here over the next month and a half.
You just never know. And look, sometimes there are certain teams that play bad baseball for the middle part of the year, and then they play their best baseball down the stretch. It does feel like, to me, outside of April, the last 2 weeks has been some of their better baseball, or at least the last week. Okay. At least the last week. And so I just look at the defense too, Mark. The defense has been much improved. Yeah. When was the last time we said, Estrada, what are you doing? I think it also coincides with Evan Longoria coming back.
No doubt.
Because Evan Longoria is a stabilizer at 3rd.
Well, their veterans are back. So people are not out of position. Yep. And you're not getting Mariners farmhands showing up every other day.
I mean,
and who knows where. So yes, they're not perfect players, but at least they're the ones and that you expected to be in these positions this year. The lineup looks like you expected it to be. and that may not be perfect, but it's certainly serviceable. It's better. It's competitive.
Oh, no, it's totally fine. Right now, I'm looking at this team and I'm saying Estrada and Wilmer Flores have kind of carried them, as of the last couple of months offensively. But you're seeing small contributions. Crawford, Longoria, Belt coming through with a double earlier in that game. Guys are stepping up. But the key for me is Joey Bart. He just looks like a totally different guy.